Okay, great. So welcome, guys, to today's Satsang, week 2. I want to thank you for, showing up and, really making time for yourself so that we can have meaningful conversations. Now, today's topic is all about managing our thoughts. It's all about watching and really keeping in check with our emotions and thoughts. Right, you might have heard that our thoughts create our experiences. It's cause and effect. Thoughts are cause, experiences are effect. Okay, so loving thoughts create loving experiences. Fearful thoughts create fearful experiences. So naturally, what we think, we create, right? And you may have heard the quote from Gandhi, which goes along, something along the lines of how our, the beliefs that we have about ourselves, about others, how they manifest into thoughts. And then, our thoughts become our behaviors, our actions, which become our habits, which eventually become our character and our destiny. Okay, and it really starts with, your thoughts. So just before I start, I wanted to check in to see how everyone's going, with their thoughts. I'll share first in regards to, my thoughts. In the past week, I've experienced a roller coaster. I'm generally a very happy, bubbly person, but I've also experienced some negativity as well. Often when you're interacting with other people and you have a negative conversation, maybe someone's judging you or they're criticizing you, and so that negativity, we tend to take that on board. And if we're thinking about those negative thoughts, we're going to manifest it in our experience. We're going to have a negative experience. So, let's just do a quick check-in. How are your thoughts been so far this week? Would you like to share, Caroline?
Yep. For myself, I've noticed that just personal circumstances and how like listening to other people's sad or negative stories and then noticing how that affects me. And then I can see myself projecting those stories onto my own life into the future. So it's like I empathize so much that I'm like taking their story on board and project it into my future life, which kind of provokes like fearful thoughts. Yeah. So that's what I've noticed that I've done more recently, which I'm obviously, just being conscious of and really trying to manage that instead of let that take over.
Okay, great. And how have you been managing those negative thoughts?
A lot of meditation. A lot of meditation, just calming the body. So, and just being conscious of all the thoughts to not let it take over me, but instead to just watch it.
Okay, that's really great. So I've been meditating as well, so I can see how that helps. Thanks for sharing, Caroline.
Thank you.
Great. Well, how about you, Les? How have you had a chance to check in your emotions and your thoughts this week?
Look, absolutely. I mean, I'm quite aware of the stuff that's going on in my head.
That's awesome.
And look, not always able to stop the thoughts or to stop the reactions that come through, right? Yes. But this week I haven't been feeling good at all. Like it's nothing to do with the virus. It's I think it's a common cold, but my whole family has kind of been hit by it. And it hasn't been because we haven't been out and about, right? So it's nothing to do with the virus, but just to make sure, obviously we had a check in with the doctor.
That's good.
But there wasn't any symptoms that showed that. I mean, apart from the symptoms that we had. But that in itself, like, is even that in this moment, because, do you know what I mean? Like, if there's any kind of symptoms, like, your mind goes to it's very easily goes to the most, how do I say this? Like the most negative kind. Like, it'll go straight to, oh, is this the virus? Do you know what I mean? And it's just really interesting to see how your mind is kind of designed to take you out, right? Like, on a daily basis, you know. So I literally have to check in on a daily basis and you know, really question myself, like, you know, what am I thinking? Is it you know, is it legitimate? You know, there's so many things right now going on in my life that I'm questioning, like, almost on a daily basis. You know, that are quite intense, with regards to this crazy situation and just life in general. You know. And I've got 2 little ones as well. So, you know, so I've got a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. So, you know, this is stuff that I question, like, daily, you know, like, because if you're not in a good mindset or whatever the case may be, then it's very easy for a 3-year-old to frustrate you.
I understand.
Right?
And what kind of things are you questioning on a regular basis?
Well, like, you know, am I doing the best job as a father? Right? Am I teaching him the best things, you know, moving forward, like how to respond? Because sometimes I don't. Like, you know, if I react to something that he's doing, then I'm literally teaching him that, you know, like, he's not listening to what I say, he's watching what I do. You know.
For sure. Definitely. You know, that's very insightful. You know, it sounds, you know, to be honest, it does sound like you're an awesome father from what I'm hearing.
I appreciate that.
Which, you know, it sounds amazing from the stories that you're sharing. And, you know, and as I said in my previous satsang, you know, right now it's just, you know, with the current lockdown and most people are at home. And so there's a lot of quiet time. There's a lot of, you know, stillness and quiet time in our external environment. Because generally what happens is we distract ourselves on a regular basis. You know, for instance, we go to work, we go out, we go to the cinemas, we have dinner, we watch TV, we watch Netflix, we hang out with our kids. You know, we are very busy. We're just working, doing, stressing, that sort of thing. And in essence, we're distracting ourselves from being with ourselves. And now that with the current lockdown and we're being forced to stay at home because our external environment is more quiet, there's more opportunities to be with ourselves. And, you know, as we begin to be more with ourselves, we tune in with what's going on in our minds. And if we're not used to mind training, you know, through meditation, yoga, and other mindfulness tools, we begin to hear the noise that's going on in the mind. You know, it's like a jumping monkey mind. It's constantly thinking, it's processing, it's judging, and it's constantly thinking, and it can create a lot of mental chaos and stress. So raise your hand if you relate to what I'm saying. Yes, okay. I can't see the other two. Oh, yes, okay. Caroline, you've raised your hand as well. And so, you know, it's important that we use this time to train the mind, because an untrained mind is the one that's going to be chaotic. It's going to be stressed. It's going to be reactive in every situation. You know, something so minor can trigger you, right? So, you know, I really encourage meditation and yoga during this time, or even journal writing as well is very helpful. And generally, what happens is that we have these fears. Oh, thanks for the thumbs up. So, you know, we have these fears, these deep-rooted fears that are held inside of us, okay? And we may not be aware of it. You know, for instance, I've got fears. And it could be fears around, you know, I'm not doing enough, I'm not good enough, you know, I'm not beautiful enough, I'm not smart enough, you know, all sorts of fears. Any other fears that you would like to share? Like what kind of fears you're aware of, you're conscious of? You're welcome just to call it out.
What one would be, I'm not worthy of love.
Okay, yep, I'm not worthy of love. That's a very common one, yes.
Yeah. Fear of failure.
Fear of failure, yes, that's a common one as well.
I'm not
Even
deserving.
fear of success.
Sorry, what was that? Maybe
Not deserving.
you're not what, sorry?
Not deserving.
Oh, yep, not deserving, yes. What was the other one, Les?
Even fear of success.
Yeah, fear of success. Yeah. So lots of fears, right? And as I said, generally when we distract ourselves, these deep-rooted fears are held in our subconscious, and we're not necessarily, you know, these fears, these limiting beliefs, they're subconsciously guiding us. They're guiding our thoughts, our actions, our behaviors, and, you know, it's affecting our level of confidence in life. Maybe we hesitate in life, but we're not consciously aware of it. Because it's hiding deep within. And now because of the lockdown, it's a really great opportunity to confront them, right? Because we've got more time now, more quiet time. So with these fears, you know, when you're sitting down, you're meditating, you're connecting with yourself, you know, really tap in, you know, what are my fears? What are my limiting beliefs? And allow it to come up, you know, really make some time to confront it, to deal with it, and to work with it. And that's a really great way, you know, because you're going to start with self-awareness, which is becoming aware of the thoughts in your mind when your external environment is more quiet. You become aware of it. And then at number 2, you know, you need to be able to control it and manage it by asking yourself, you know, why am I feeling these emotions? Why are they coming up? Why do I have a fear that I'm not deserving? Why do I have a fear of failure? And once you become aware of that, number 3, you shift the emotion. Okay, you shift the thought. Okay, you shift your perception. Okay, do you have any questions or comments? No. And generally, you know, as I said before, loving thoughts create loving experiences. Fearful thoughts create fearful experiences. So our outer world is simply a projection of our inner world. How we feel about ourselves, we will project outwards. Okay, so I'm going to give you an example. You know, so, and this is a real example, which I'm thinking of. You know, so for instance, you know, when I'm at home and I'm feeling really stressed because I'm working on my business and I really want to grow my business so I can reach more people, get more exposure and increase my income, right? And there are certain days where things don't seem to be working well for me because, I'm feeling impatient. I feel that things aren't moving fast enough for me. And I'm not getting as much done as I'd like to. So I've got my to-do list and I've got like 20, 30 items that I want to get done in one day. And maybe, you know, I've only completed 2. So I'm feeling really crap about myself. And because I feel like I'm not doing enough, naturally it means I'm not feeling like I'm enough, right? And because I feel like I'm not enough, I'm going, I'm going to project it outwards. So let's just say my sister comes along and, you know, she's talking about food or whatever. I'm going to start, maybe, taking my anger out on her because I'm feeling shit about myself because I feel like I haven't done enough. But I'm going to project it outwards and I'm going to say to my sister, what have you done today? You know, you haven't done enough. You're eating too much or you're talking too much. You're not doing enough. So I'm making her feel shit and I'm letting her know that she's not doing enough to grow the business. I'm projecting it outwards onto her. Okay, when in fact, okay, that's my own shit. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, of course.
Yeah. And so, and it's very natural because often, you know, when we're judging ourselves, we're more likely to judge others. When we criticize ourselves, you know, I'm not beautiful enough, I'm not doing enough, things aren't moving fast enough, you know, I'm going to fail, whatever it is, I'm not deserving. When we're criticizing ourselves, naturally we're going to project that onto others. We're more likely to judge others, to criticize others. And so, you know, when you're interacting with someone and someone's being very negative, they're criticizing you, they're criticizing others, you know, and they're telling you how, you know, terrible their colleagues are and that sort of thing, and they're just gossiping and bitching about other people, okay, you know, they're just projecting it outwards because their outer world is a projection of their inner world. And so in essence, what's really happening on the inside is that they're feeling really crap about themselves because every time they're criticizing and judging others, that's just a reflection, a projection of what's going on internally in their own mind, that they're actually judging and criticizing themselves. And so, you know, when we're willing to work on ourselves, you know, when we're willing to, you know, really validate ourselves, compliment ourselves, you know, when we uplift ourselves and we, you know, celebrate by giving yourself a pat on the back, letting you know, hey, I did an awesome job. You know, I'm an awesome mother, an awesome aunt, an awesome father, you know, or, you know, hey, you know, whatever it is, oh, thanks for the clap. You know, hey, you know, I did an awesome job. I taught my kids what 1 + 1 is. You know, whatever it is, when you validate, when you congratulate yourself, you're filling up your love tank, right? Because you're feeling good about yourself. These are like positive affirmations. And when you're filling up your love tank, okay, when you fill up your cup full, you know, you have more of an overflow of love to extend to others, to share with others. You become more kind towards others. And if you're validating yourself and complimenting yourself, you're more likely to validate and compliment others because you feel good about yourself. So because you're seeing positive things about yourself, you're more likely to see positive things in other people. As I said, loving thoughts create loving experiences. Fearful thoughts create fearful experiences. So if you're judging yourself, you're more likely to judge others. If you're validating yourself, you're more likely to do that for others as well, which means if you're judging your others, most of the time you're judging yourself. Okay, if you're complimenting and validating others, you know, most of the time you're doing that to yourself as well, and oftentimes we don't know it. You know, and you know, just a really quick story I'll share. When I was talking to a friend and I felt really good about myself that day, something happened and I just felt really beautiful. And so I was talking to my friend and I said, you know, hey, you are so beautiful, blah, blah, blah. And my friend said to me, are you sure you're not projecting outwards? Like, are you sure you're not talking about yourself? So that's just an example of projection. Any comments or anything you'd like to share?
Yeah, what would you say if like you've been thinking like this way? Because everything you said is you know, I agree with it 100%. But to get to that place of awareness, right, takes, well, I don't know if it takes time, but it definitely takes work, right?
Oh, definitely, yes.
And that work may take time. But what would you say to someone who has been, I suppose, living this way for a long, long time, and they don't, you know, they don't realize, because like you said, it's about awareness, right? It's self-awareness, right? And consciousness. So to get to that place that you're talking about, right, is a place that I find most people aren't in, right? So what would you say to someone that hasn't seen this place, or you know, like, because it's a very easy concept, right? But how would you like, what work are you talking about?
Oh, do you mean as in like if they're used to be in a place of negativity? How?
Yeah, well, not necessarily negativity, but they don't understand the concept of judgment. You know, the inward and outward. You know, the fact that your inward world does affect your outside world. It only goes one direction. It's only inside out. It's not the other way around. Right? Yes. We're only responding to stimuli that's coming from the outside in, right? But we're literally living from the inside world out.
Yeah.
And so what I'm asking, I mean, is how would someone that doesn't know these concepts, doesn't understand these concepts, how could they get to this kind of awareness?
Yes, that's a really good question. I suppose they would require a lot of inner work. Coaching would help, so I offer coaching and therapy. But obviously, in order to be in that state, you need to be open. You need to be open to learning, and you need to be open to receiving. So someone who is experiencing negativity and they are resisting change, so they're not ready to grow, they're not ready to step out of this negativity. If they choose to be in this negativity because maybe it makes them feel important, or they don't like change and they're resisting a lot, there's not much you can do from there because, they need to be willing to change. They need to, make that decision that they want to be better in order to vibrate at a higher state of consciousness. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so it's exactly that. They need to be searching for it. Yes. Because I think most of us who I suppose are on that journey, we go searching for it because we realize that the negativity is just not a way that we want to live anymore.
Yes, exactly. Now more than ever, because of the lockdown, it's really great for inner transformation. And a lot of people are experiencing inner transformation right now because, as I said, there's a lot of, quietness in our external environment, and a lot of people are going inward. So there is a lot of inner transformation right now. And when you're ready to step up, and you're ready to you're ready to upgrade your consciousness, or you're ready to step out of that negativity, when you're consciously ready for that, you'll meet the right people. The right people will come into your life, and it could be through social media, it could be within a workplace or a social event. You'll meet the right people who can, really support you, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I like the word upgrade.
Yes, upgrade. Cool. Yes, upgrade. Yeah. All the time.
Well, it's like a system, right? It's like all of the apps in our phone; they constantly need updates, right? And yet, most people aren't updating their own system, right? Like you wash your hair and your teeth on a regular basis, but who washes their mind, right?
Exactly. Yes, and our mind is like a garden. Right? As with any garden, if you abandon or neglect the garden, what naturally grows?
Yeah, it's weeds.
Exactly. Weeds naturally grow. So if we neglect our mind, negative thoughts will naturally creep in. It's very natural for that to happen. So in order to maintain the garden, to ensure a beautiful garden, we need to plant seeds. We plant flowers and we water it every day to ensure blossoming flowers. And so with the mind, we need to seed our mind. We need to plant positive thoughts, positive affirmations, as I said, through validation, through complimenting yourself, through celebrating yourself. When you're planting those positive seeds, you need to water them every day. You need to water your mind every day. And that's how you have a growth mindset, a positive mindset that allows you to grow and upgrade your consciousness. Because if you neglect the garden as you neglect the mind, weeds or negative thoughts will naturally grow.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not a very religious person, but it's in the Bible. The way it's said is be in the word daily.
Yes.
Right. But the word is just the word of God, right? So you could, any given experience, you could say just be in spirit daily, right? Which is be inspired.
Oh, right? Beautiful. Be inspired. I love that.
Well, in spirit, I don't know if you know, but inspired comes from the Latin word, which means in spirit.
Oh, I had no idea. That's really
Yeah.
cool.
It's a Latin word, inspirato,
Yeah.
which means which is an old word because it's Latin, and which means to be in spirit.
Yes. Oh, wow. Yeah, that's very beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
It's okay.
Yes. And so, as I said, when I talked about self-awareness, one, having the self-awareness of, what thoughts or emotions you're experiencing right now and being aware of that. And then number two, as I said, asking yourself the questions, why am I feeling these emotions? Why are these emotions come up? And then number three, you shift the perspective, you shift the emotions or thoughts. And you can choose to do that, as I said, by praising yourself, by validating yourself, by changing the thoughts. Often what happens throughout the day or week is, we tend to achieve things. Maybe they're not big milestones. Maybe they're like, minor things, like you've completed one item from your to-do list. Or maybe you've gone for a 20-minute walk. Or you've completed something that's considered a small milestone. Could be playing with your kid, or I don't know, cooking. And we tend to, we don't congratulate ourselves. We don't celebrate these little wins, right? We're sort of waiting for that big moment when we achieve that really big goal, and that's when we celebrate. But the thing is, it might take years, it might take a few months to achieve that really big goal. And it's important to really celebrate all the little milestones, all the little I've got here on my finger. So all the little milestones that get you to achieving the greater goal, to be able to celebrate along the way, celebrate all these little milestones, and congratulate yourself, because little progression is still progression. And it's important to celebrate your little wins, because when you're celebrating your little wins, again, that's watering your mind. You're feeling good about yourself. And if you're feeling good about yourself, you're more likely to be good to those around you, whether it's your family, your kids, your colleagues. You're just going to be in a better mood, and you're less likely to be triggered by little things. Are there, what are some of your sort of little wins that you think, deserves to be heard right now? I can share mine first. I suppose my little win is that, this is my second satsang, and I've got 3 people. I've got 3 people in the satsang. It's not as big as I'd like it to be, but I'm very grateful that I have, an audience of 3 people to speak with. So for me, this is a little win that I think deserves, to be celebrated. So I'm just going to pat myself on the back, like I'm doing an awesome job. Caroline, what about yourself? Any little wins that you think deserve to be praised or validated on your behalf?
Yep, I've got 2. So one is my meditation practice this morning, and the second is showing up to this satsang.
Awesome, thank you for that. Is there anything you'd like to share, Les? Any little wins that you would like to share?
Yeah, hey, good work on this as well.
Thank
great.
you.
For me, it's look, I'm working from home right now, so to be able to get up every morning and be motivated and still continue, and because a big part of my role is to cold call people, so to be able to do that and move past the amount of rejection is something that I just do it now. But I was really thinking this morning that that's not something that is easy, So I should really pat myself on the back for that, because even though, because I just before I jumped on the call for you, I had a guy message me and say, nah, we're not interested, sorry, and it's just like, just to really, because sometimes that can take people out in their business. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And some people won't make another call for the rest of the day, but I've still got, a lot of people to call. So
yeah, wow. I mean, I can imagine, making cold calls. It's a very challenging. Oh, I know for me, it's very challenging. You've got to have really thick skin to be able to do that.
yeah, you really do.
Yeah, and that's amazing. Thank you guys for sharing. So
welcome.
definitely, celebrate your little wins. Every time you achieve a little milestone, really celebrate. Give yourself a pat on the back, right? It's really important to do that, because when you're doing that, you're filling up your love tank. And if you're filling up your love tank, you've got an overflow of love to extend towards others. And that's when you're being your best self. If you're not praising yourself, if you're not celebrating your little wins, okay, your love tank is going to be empty. You're going to feel depleted, tired, right? Mentally, you're going to feel drained because you're feeling so crap about yourself, because you feel like you're not doing enough. And this constant feeling of emptiness is, you really can't be your best self. And every little thing is going to trigger you, whether it's a family member, a work colleague. When things aren't going the way you want it to, it's going to be very difficult to really go with the flow, because you're just like, aha, that sort of thing.
This is obviously something you've experienced, right? Like,
yes, of course.
I love, yeah.
Everything I share, it comes from my own personal experience. Yeah, and we all go through that,
Yeah, absolutely. Like in some way, shape or form.
Yeah, great. So it looks like we're finishing up now. Are there any sort of final comments or questions you'd like to share before we finish up?
No,
Or
just,
yes?
yeah.
Or just any major takeaways that you'd like to share?
No
The
one else?
power of managing your inner world.
The power of managing your inner world. I love that. Thank you for sharing that.
And for me, it's just really celebrating those little wins, even though they might be, they might be big, but they're little wins, right? You need to really celebrate that. Like I just personally, I accomplish a lot of stuff because I'm one of those people that are just, about, doing stuff, right? Probably like yourself, probably like everyone else on the call. We're not, you're not sitting here doing nothing. You're doing the work right now, otherwise you wouldn't have made this call, right? So just really like looking back, and thinking, wow, okay, I've done this and I've done that, I've done that. It's very easy for me to just keep moving forward with that goal in mind, and not celebrating those little things. So thank you for that.
Oh, that's awesome. Yes, celebrating our little wins. That's like a major thing that we should all be doing. And if everyone's doing that, they're going to feel awesome about themselves.
Exactly.
Okay. Yes. Okay, great. So thank you guys. Thanks for joining me today. Just so you know, we have this satsang every Tuesday and Thursday at 10 a.m. for half an hour. So my sister hosts the satsang on Tuesday and I host the one on Thursday. So I hope to see you again soon. And thank you to you as well, Nga. Thank you, Les.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Caroline. Mwah. Enjoy the rest of your day.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye.